Let's start. Let me introduce myself. So my name is Elodie Messéan. I'm working as an analyst at Blockchain, partnered by KPMG. Okay, so just Blockchain partnered by KPMG is a consulting firm specialized in blockchain technologies and cryptocurrency. So our activities are based on educational workshop, strategic support, technical development, and also audit. So my goal through this presentation will be to introduce you to blockchain technologies and traceability. In order to do that, I need to talk about cryptocurrency and about Bitcoin in particular. In fact, to understand blockchain technologies, we need to go through its first and purest application, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency. It was created by an anonymous Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008. So in a context of big economic crisis and in a context of a lack of trust towards banks and institutions. So the idea behind Bitcoin was pretty simple. It was to transfer value in a very independent way and to do exactly like banks without banks. And how is it possible? Well, it is made possible by a decentralized ledger, a blockchain. But first, let's see what's the difference compared to the traditional system. Before Bitcoin, you needed an intermediary to transfer value with all the risk associated, for example, a lack of accessibility or censorship risk, because you needed to ask someone else permission to open a bank account, and sometimes you had the risk to see your transaction blocked by someone else. And with Bitcoin, you have a decentralized ledger, which means that you can transfer value in a very independent way, and it is more accessible than any digital asset because you just need some tools, for example, just an internet connection and some computer tools. And yeah, so how is it made possible? As I said, it is made possible by a decentralized ledger, so a blockchain. All you need to know is that a blockchain is nothing more than a network of people who will agree on certain rules and who will decide by consensus. So every person has its own copy of the ledger, which means that if you want to change the rules on your own, if you want to defraud the system, well, technically you can, and I'm not saying it is simple, but if you do so, you have to know that your copy of the ledger will be different from the other people on the network. So people will not trust you anymore. And this is what makes a blockchain. So it is how it works. And this is what makes Bitcoin and blockchain very secure. Because the thing is, Bitcoin relies on a blockchain. Bitcoin is a blockchain. And every cryptocurrency relies on a blockchain. So really, to me, it makes no sense to oppose the two concepts. So yeah, initially, blockchain is the name that was given to the way Bitcoin works under the hood. So as you can see, a blockchain is a very secure database. And the thing is, it creates also the concept of digital scarcity. And today we used to compare Bitcoin to digital gold. I think this comparison is pretty relevant for two main reasons. Okay, so first, as you know, and exactly as gold, Bitcoin is not created by a specific state or a central bank. And then there is a limited quantity of Bitcoins to be mined on Earth. So it is a perfect tool to hedge against inflation and to protect yourself against inflation. But all I wanted to to say first is that Bitcoin is not, and blockchain is not just a new technology. It is a part of something bigger, what we call the Internet of Value. So being able to prove the scarcity of digital assets and to create scarcity was the missing point of the internet as we know it. We copy information all the day. For example, when you send an email to someone, you just copy information. You will keep the information on your own computer. With Bitcoin, it is not about copying information. It is about transferring value, transferring information in a permanent way. So this technology is an enormous step ahead. And okay, so let's see to which extent a blockchain can help to improve traceability. Okay, what about blockchain and traceability? Well, as you know, we live in an era of massive data flows with an increasing risk of theft and misappropriation. And we need to find solutions against those risks. At least we need to find solutions to minimize those risks. And as I said, blockchain is just a database. So it cannot really trace data on its own. For example, in the energy sector, if you want to trace the power source, the green power, you will need sensors connected to, for example, a photovoltaic central, and these sensors will record the data and put it on the blockchain. So to trust this kind of mechanism, you really need to make sure that sensors are not corrupted. And that's the reason why I think it is more relevant talking about certification with blockchain rather than blockchain traceability. Okay, so the question we need to ask ourselves is why certify data with blockchain? For example, if you have a litigation with someone, or if you just work in supply chain and you need to attest the status of a document at a specific time, or if you just need to prove the interiority of your document, well, blockchain can be very useful in that way. Let me explain how it works exactly. It's pretty simple. All you need is a platform where you will upload your documents, your data, and this platform will create what we call in cryptography a hash. A hash, it is just a digital print. So this digital print will be attributed to your data, your document, and it will be embedded on blockchain. So for example, if someone wants to defraud your document, to modify information without your consent, well, you have this digital print embedded on blockchain, and the digital print will not be valid anymore if someone tried to modify information without your consent. So compared to a traditional database, a blockchain is very secure, as we can see. And the main advantage, it's not just about security, it is about, how can I say? Well, you just don't need a trusted third party, so you just need an internet connection, and it is pretty easy to use, in fact. Okay, so the other important thing is that it is a very trustworthy use case. And we needed a platform to do that. So blockchain partner has created a certification solution, which is named Data Trust. So Data Trust is just a platform which uses blockchain technology as an e-notary. And the objective is just to certify documents without revealing its content. So for example, if you work in a commercial registry or archiving insurance documents, even lab notebooks, it can be very, very useful because as I said, it is a very secure database. And I'm sure there are other use cases we didn't work for from now, but in every industry where you need to certify every steps during a journey and just trust the evidence independently, so without any trusted third party, it can be very useful. For example, if you want to certify IBAN documents in banking, or if you want to certify the integrity of medical record in healthcare, again in public administration, or in supply chain. Okay, so this was, it is a very general presentation, as I said. I hope it was clear. I'm done from now. So don't hesitate to ask your questions. If something wasn't clear, sorry, or, okay, so thank you for listening, and I will let the lead to Medicine.
Yeah, thank you very much, Elodie, for this presentation. And now I think that we can proceed.
Okay, Medicine is the host now. Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much. So maybe we can move forward and discuss about two initiatives that are funded by European Commission. So the first project that we would like to talk about is the Interreg Northwest Europe project Blockstart. So Blockstart is an Interreg Northwest Europe that started on September 2019 and will end on September 2022. It involved 7 European partners from 5 different countries. And the project has the objective to support SMEs in 3 specific sectors, that is agri-food, healthcare, and logistics, and helping SMEs or developing digital solution using blockchain through free program and trainings. So why SMEs? Because they don't have enough resources for R&D, and sometimes they have problem with cash flow. So the project aims to make company aware of what blockchain is, to educate them and implementing and helping them implementing their solution. So this free training program will help to understand how you can implement blockchain in your existing solution, what impact it has, and how you can be part of this impact. So the training are delivered by blockchain experts, so and can be adapted to any needs. So you can visit our website and find the application that is available, and also all the training that are already set up. So you can find some training like discover more about use cases in your sector, or training like design thinking, more business training, or training, for example, more focus on technology aspects. So you can go on the website and apply, and if you are selected, we can start a discussion about your solution and in which way we can move forward, and yeah, helping you to support in this new voucher scheme. So the first contact will be your regional support partner. So as I mentioned, we have different Northwest Europe partners. So it's France, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, and UK. And in the second time, you can ask for a quick scan that it will take 30 minutes in order to understand what are your needs, and in which way we can support you. So this is an overview about all the partners involved in this project that are experts in the sector that I already mentioned, so healthcare, logistics, and agri-food. And if you are interested in this project, please don't hesitate to visit our website and follow us on all the networks, LinkedIn and Twitter. So I will give the floor to Mona. She can in this way present you the other possibility that you have with BHub for Europe.
Yes, thank you, Daniela, for this presentation. So hello from my side too. I'm Mona El Jadawi from Systematic Paris region. And today I will give a short presentation about project BHub for Europe. So I will share my screen. Okay. So BHub for Europe is a European Commission funded project. BHub is the abbreviation for Blockchain Hub for European Startups Acceleration and Growth. We are a 2-year project to encourage blockchain startup growth and more generally the adoption of blockchain technology in industry and public services. We have started back in January 2020 and will be operating until December this year. We are operating under the mandate of Startup Europe, so the initiative of the European Commission, DG Connect. And the project is run by 5 leading accelerators and clusters. So Systematic is the French partner of this project, but we also have Innova in Italy, Connect Global in Germany, Startup Division in Lithuania, and Spheric Accelerator in Romania. For a short focus on our actions, the first action we have is we are running a startup acceleration program. It is running in 2 cohorts. So we started the first batch of acceleration in last October and until March this year. And we'll be starting shortly the second cohort of acceleration. We have selected 45 European startups. And the goal of the program is to support them in their go-to-market strategy. So for instance, we provide coaching in growth strategies, in sales, in IP protection, access to public and private funding. 2 of the startups we accelerated in the first cohort are presenting today in this webinar. So blockchain partner for Data Trust and HoloNG, who will present later. And another part of the program is to provide business introductions and visibility opportunities, for example, in events such as the one we're presenting today. Another main action of the project is the blockchain training sessions. So there are 3 training sessions aimed at private sector representatives of any size, SMEs, industrial groups, and also representatives of public organizations. So a few stats about the sessions we have organized at European level. We have trained about 225 organizations with a slight majority of private actors. We have explored many use cases, including the University of Competences, court document tracing, P2P energy trading, vaccine supply chain, many others. And we have reported a 92% satisfaction rate from our participants. A third action is the mapping and the recommendation that we will make at European level. So this is an activity that we're running all along the project. And basically, we are mapping blockchain startups, but also successfully implemented use cases and researching more generally the state of blockchain adoption in each ecosystem. We have released our first blockchain reports last year. So I invite you to consult it in our website. There will be a link in the presentation. And the aim of this activity is to ultimately inform regulation at European level on how to encourage blockchain adoption. And the last activity I would like to tell you about is the matching labs. So building from the previous activities that we run, we have the goal to foster projects and partnerships between blockchain startups, such as the one that we accelerate in our program, and private and public organizations interested to integrate blockchain solutions. To support this project fostering activity, we're also providing training on procurement best practices. And basically this is, well, the main goal of the project is to connect blockchain developers and companies and procurers for the emergence of these projects. To end with this quick presentation, how you can get involved in the project. If you are an investor or representative of a private organization or a public organization, you can reach out to us to connect with the blockchain startups that we accelerate in BHub and that are ready to approach the market. You can reach out also more generally about your blockchain related projects. If you're looking for partners, we can probably help here through our network. And you can just follow our events, our opportunities, the trainings we will continue to provide in the different countries, our presentations, workshops. Here is our contact email address to reach out, and that's it on my side. Thank you for listening. I think now we will move on to the presentation from our two SMEs, starting with Nesrine.
Yes. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to be here with you since our company is part of the Blockstart program presented by Daniela at the beginning of the webinar. So we really appreciate work with you, Daniela. So I wanted to tell you because I know we have specific requests. So yeah, for all the SMEs or startup who are here, I think the programs like we have a Blockstart are very important to create a blockchain ecosystem within the Europe, at least. So I will introduce myself at first. So I'm Nesrine Benyaya. I'm a PhD in law, dedicated to health law and new technologies. And I worked in the medical device industry and then in a lawyer firm. And then I created Untitled Data 3 years ago. So who are we? Just begin. Who are we? We are data privacy officers. You know, this famous function created by GDPR. So we are acting as DPO for hospitals, healthcare professionals, and companies in e-health, such as in telemedicine, in AI, particularly in radiology, in AI. So we deal with all the data privacy issues, you know, informing patient, handling patient consent, handling the subcontractors, the data hosting. And as you know, in France, we are a little bit more binding than the European regulation because the health data hosting is regulated by a certification. In our team, we are both technical and legal guys. So we have developers with us. And I know one doctor is our general manager. I think it's the only physician involved at this point in data privacy. So there is hope. And then we're acting in the middle of a lot of transactions about data between hospitals and companies or academics, for data validation, specifically in research. So we're here in this matter, we are acting as just third party. So since we have this legal and technical aspects, we have a lot of challenges in this matter. And 2 years ago, we started brainstorming on how find some solutions to our use cases as a DPO for our customers and partners. So 2 years ago, with our brainstorming, a lot of education presentation. I'm thinking to the training of the MIT on the blockchain. We started to list all the use cases, all the workflow we have in our DPO experience. So we created a new platform named Esalit. So we used smart contract. I prefer to talk about smart contract than blockchain because as a lawyer, I already have this feeling about smart contract, in the notary aspects or every related matter in a familiar business, So we prefer to talk about smart contract. So Esalit, our technology, is on the market now for healthcare professionals and for hospitals. We work with hospitals, for instance, to build their data warehouses because there are a lot of rules on traceability, data management, on patients' rights management. So the first module of our technology is this patient rights manager. So we are able to manage consent, information of patient, right to object, right to access to his data. So I know Elodie say a lot of stuff about data in the blockchain and the database in the blockchain, but since we are dealing with personal data, even if we are doing pseudonymization, it's still personal data. We cannot store this data in the blockchain because we have a principle in the blockchain. So the immutability of the blockchain, if a patient wants to withdraw his consent and his data, I cannot do so. So this is a big issue when you are dealing with personal data and want to work with blockchain. So we define specific workflows in our use cases, for clinical research, but also for the patient care within a hospital or in the office of a physician. So for these use cases, a year ago, we launched a lot of experimentation with our partners. We call them bold partners because they don't understand blockchain at the beginning. So we had like a lot of work to explain how it works and just explain that just the technology, the workflow is the big important element here. So we defined the specific workflows. We did our testing and we kept some of them that they worked with our partners. And then we are, as I said, we work with hospitals, but also with companies in e-health, especially in telemedicine, and they want to give to their users or customers an added value within the platform. So we began to work with them and doing some experiences with our API. And I tell them, okay, you can use our API to trace everything on the blockchain, trace the consent, change the transaction on personal data, etc. So I think we have a lot of companies now waiting for us. So some of them are really very known from the public in France from eHealth, and we are trying to create a trust ecosystem in eHealth about personal data. So that's how we designed our technology and how we are working on this. So the main topic of today is the traceability. So I just want to say something, because blockchain is not always the right solution. So that's why we worked on our workflows and try to find when we need transparency, when the trust is not here with all the partners in the ecosystem. So you need to find the right blockchain. There is private blockchain, public blockchain, consortium blockchain. So it depends on what is your use case. How do you want to design it? So basically, we cannot trace or handle, manage personal data in health like we manage Bitcoin. So yeah, we need to really have a thinking on this. Then every transactions, we call it transaction because it's the name, in the node of the blockchain, there is transaction, to put the transaction, to validate the transactions. And the transaction, it depends on the algorithm in the smart contract we're creating. So everything is traced within the blockchain with no personal data. Okay, so this is very important. And then I think you should keep in mind something important, how to maintain the audit system within the blockchain. It's okay to have its technology, it's very great, but how can you give this transparency to your users who are not developers or not engineers and do not understand the blockchain itself? So this is a big issue. We worked on this one the last month with our partners, and I think you should keep it in mind if you want to work it. And Daniela says something important. Blockchain, yeah, you need cash flows because blockchain is expensive. It's not too expensive, but it's not something you can implement easily because you need the expertise, you need the money, you need to test everything, you need to find bold people to go with you. So it's important to have this in mind too. So yeah, so blockchain is not the goal because I know it's a buzzword. That's why we prefer to talk about smart contract, but definitely is not a goal. Okay, so the workflow is the goal. The solution to the problem is the goal. But blockchain is just a technology such as encryption or pseudonymization, etc. So this is important because we heard a lot of companies selling blockchain just for selling blockchain. I don't think it's really wise to do so. And then I already talked about that, but you need to manage data privacy issues if you are managing health data or personal data, even if it's not in the health sector, and make it understandable. So this is the real big issue because everyone knows blockchain with Bitcoin. Now they know blockchain with Doge, thanks to Elon Musk. But when you come in the hospital and you present your product and you say like, okay, we'll trace everything. An hospital or anyone do not want always to trace everything because there is litigation, etc. So it is like how we say it's not the prêt-à-porter, it's sur mesure. So you need to be really focused on the workflow and make it understandable for the informatic guys in the hospitals. That's it. If you have a question, you can contact me directly in my email, and you are really welcome to come work with us, especially if you are a company in health. I want to be part of a trust ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Nesrine. Great insights into your work. We will move on now to Jean-Christophe for HODL-NG.
Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen as well. Thank you. Thank you, Mana. And thank you indeed for the invitation. We, on our hand, we are part of BIAB program here that you can see on this slide. And thank you all for attending. And thank you for your patience. The good thing when you are the last speaker that you can get the benefits of all the good things that that we've heard. So it will really help me from what I've heard from Elodie and Neskin as well. So my name is Jean-Christophe Finidori. I'm the founder of OdLNG. We are a blockchain startup incorporated in Tallinn, Estonia. And we are focusing on one specific market to address issues on one specific market, the liquefied natural gas industry, or LNG. Before I go further, let me put some elements related to our understanding of traceability and the blockchain benefits for that. As I said at the beginning, I had some very good things. Elodie mentioned the digital scarcity, the Internet of Value, traceability, trustworthy, certification. Indeed, this is the beyond blockchain and smart contract. This is the keywords that you have to keep in mind. Blockchain triggers a new way to generate value, a new way to preserve this value and to make this value scarce, and to share this value. And it's really important in the context of the energy industry, but more specifically, and that's why we are focusing on that with OdLNG, it's really important in the context of mining and extractive industries and natural resources. What we saw in the LNG industry, the problem is that many inefficiencies as a reason in this supply chain, with lack of transparency, with no trust among the participants, with some provisions and practices that we may see as anti-competitive, and definitely blockchain and smart contracting approach or smart contracting regime can tackle these kind of issues. Before I go into the details, our understanding of traceability is that to trace information, to trace the issuer of this information, the trustworthy, as Elodie said before, the location of this information. In a decentralized network, it's important to know where you can find this information. What we've called the lifetime value, and again, I heard very good thing about digital scarcity, Internet of Value. On our hand, we try to generate more value. And because the LNG stakeholders would generate more value, we put in place what we call a profit sharing mechanism. Because again, blockchain is a terrific tool to share additional value. So we saw the traceability in the sense of, in our case, we trace the, what we used to say, the non-material value applied on each LNG cargo transaction. So how we do that? We are creating what we've called a digital asset. It's sort of a virtual representation of a cargo with a specific volume of gas and with specific attributes associated with that. You have some gas characteristics and you have some non-tangible attributes. And this is the thing that we would like to capture and to provide the LNG stakeholders with a tool to retrieve some additional value, to exchange, to transfer, to change the ownership of this value. Of course, in a second manner, but with the idea to in a sense, to preserve the uniqueness of each contract, the uniqueness of each transaction, And that's why now we used to say that our digital asset is a sort of NFT for LNG. NFT is one of the most famous words that I'm sure you are all very familiar with in the last couple of weeks. And indeed, this is what we are creating. We're creating a unique digital asset for each transaction, and more specifically, transaction related to a very specific cargo. I put on this screen the two key elements, the front end and the back end. So on the front end, all LNG stakeholders can create their digital asset. And as you can see on the bottom of the screen, this is a transaction on the chain. Elodie earlier mentioned the hash. So this is a hash, a transaction hash, a unique address indeed. And most importantly, you can see when we create the digital asset as an NFT. What is really important to keep in mind, as Nesrin mentioned just before, that we can interact with the blockchain and we can program the blockchain thanks to the smart contract language. This is really powerful in the sense of to set up rules, to settle rules, and to enforce those rules. And in our case, it provides us the flexibility to interact with this digital asset in different ways. The LNG stakeholders can interact with the digital asset to parcel the volume of gas and to negotiate only a part of the volume. So we have the possibility to split this digital asset. We give them the possibility to change the ownership of this digital asset, to proceed with other part of the contractual, the contract process, and all along the supply chain. Okay, so here is as well to highlight here the transaction hash, and as well for those who might be interested into that, we get the possibility to store some documents or contract or whatever you want in a decentralized manner as well. And every time, and this is the purpose of this slide, is you can retrieve where you can retrieve the location of the document, and you can retrieve the address and hold the transaction on the chain. So with this digital asset, because as we heard before, because we preserve the uniqueness of the transaction, because we create a digital scarcity of each information associated with the cargo, and we can induce some and generate some additional value. But on the top of that, our motto is to say, in the natural resource industry, from the, of course, the least developed countries, but as well from the highly industrialized countries, we can see that, and we said to our LNG stakeholders, you can use the blockchain and the smart contracting regime when you generate some additional revenue to redistribute this additional revenue to, let's say, vetted NGOs or local communities or development agency. In a sense of, as we heard, because we have the digital scarcity and because we generate some additional value, we can redistribute this additional value in a much more transparent way than it is today. So in our system, every time an LNG operators trigger an event on the platform, we are collecting fees, and we can redistribute and we can transfer those fees to those who need it the most. In terms of application, we are working with LNG stakeholders on what they've called the deviation or change of destination. Basically, you have a cargo, you have a long-term contract between a buyer and a seller, and the buyer is engaged, and you have the contractual obligation to buy, let's say, a cargo a week. But sometimes, because of the domestic circumstances, they don't need that gas. But it appears that one of their neighboring countries need that gas desperately. But contractually, it's not permitted to change the destination of cargo or to re-export or to resell that gas. So what we put in place is through this digital asset, they can manage the change of destination and the diversion. And they can manage as well what we call the co-purchasing. As I said at the beginning, thanks to the digital asset, they can parcel it in the same way that they parcel the volume of gas, and they can trace and they can validate the contractual engagement on who is interested on which part of this gas.
Jean-Christophe, I'm sorry to interrupt you because we have a few more minutes left. Is this the conclusion?
Yes, I will just conclude. Yes, in 1 minute by saying that we can use the digital asset as well to track and trace what we call the green LNG. In the same way, we create this digital scarcity, we create a digital asset, and all the participants can use the digital asset to achieve 100% of carbon offsetting and carbon neutrality. And then they can resell, they can certify that their LNG are carbon neutral. This is another way to use another usage and benefits of this digital asset. And that's it for me. Thank you, Mona. Thank you for
thank you so much, Jean-Christophe.
flagging that.
This is a good example also of blockchain ecosystems between LNG buyers, sellers, and also the retribution mechanism that enables to involve other stakeholders. So if you agree, we will move on to the Q&A session. We have received some questions in the chat. Okay, one question is, what are the main barriers to the adoption of blockchain technology?
Yeah, I can try to answer and let Jean-Christophe or other person to answer if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so to me, there are maybe like 3 main barriers in my opinion. First, a blockchain is a pretty new technology, and the thing is we face a scalability problem and transaction fees problem. So the thing is, the more persons are on the network, and the more the network can be slower. So it is like a technical problem we have to solve, and people are trying to solve it right now. For example, in changing the kind of protocol and use proof of stake rather than proof of work. So this is a thing. The other thing I would say is linked to the user experience. It really needs to be improved. So yeah, a lot of platforms are not necessarily easy to understand or to use when you don't really understand the technology. And today we have a lack of trust of the population, and I think it's normal because it is exactly as the internet in the 90s. It only exists for more than 10 years, so people need time to understand how it works. And then they will be certainly more, they will trust it more than before. And another barrier, I think it is linked to barriers from the regulators. So we have a lot of rules which are sometimes really disproportionate, and it's very slow, the development industry in France in particular, but in Europe, I'm sure certainly it will come the same, but yeah, 3 main reasons to me: pretty new technology, user experience, and regulation not proportionate.
Yeah, if I can just add one thing, it's a very elaborate answer. I would just add the complexity of the different jurisdictions related to the cryptocurrency, because in a lot of countries there is a mix and there is a confusion between what the blockchain technology, the smart contracting approach, and the cryptocurrencies. And we are facing some issue to make a clear delineation on the technology and the cryptocurrency. And this is one of the complexities that we are facing from our perspective. Thank you.
I just left a comment in the chat section. Yeah, the regulation barriers are the big ones for us because it's about personal data and health. So let you imagine how it's hard, especially in France. So yeah, we work on that, and I think it will take time, but we will reach the goal. You know, after all the cyber attacks of the lack of trust in the health data valorization, you know, because now the hospital understand really good that the data has a value for other people. So I think that's the big topic here for us for hospital, and they have a lot of interest when we talk about that. So yeah, we work also with the European Commission and some Parliament guys, but we still need to make it understandable for them. So you know, if you want to vote not manually, I mean, it creates electronic votes. How can you trust that your vote is not public for some people? So you know, a lot of question of trust, and I think it's also society questions in some topics.
Thank you. A second question, I think that's for Hodulenji. How is the real assets legally tied with the digital assets in your case?
Thank you, Mana. Thank you for the question. Indeed, the underlying material in our case is gas, is contractually tied, and what we are just reflecting and what we just permit is when you hold the digital asset, or reversely, when you hold the molecules, you can create the digital asset. And in the LNG industry, based on the complexity of the supply chain, there is different ways to transfer the ownership of this gas, and the digital asset only reflect the change of ownership of that gas. So I would address the question by saying that it's legally by the contract. The digital asset is just reflecting the change of ownership at different points of this on the supply chain. Thank you.
Thank you, Christophe. We'll take maybe one or two last questions. One of them is what criteria can we use to determine when to use blockchain? And another of them is in healthcare specifically, in which type of implementation is blockchain, for example, in medical data, L&D, traceability? Are there companies, startups, or big pharma that moved on already to some applications in blockchain?
On our end, the criteria for picking the LNG business case is three things: the lack of transparency, the inefficiencies through the value chain, and some legal conflict and disputes. So in every industry where you need more transparency or to pacify relationship, blockchain can be the solution. Thank you.
It's basically the same criteria, like a lot of workflows to digitalize also. And so this is an opportunity for us to use blockchain. And yeah, the last one but not the least, the legal proof, provide legal proof for our customers.
Nesrine, do you want to say a word about the state of adoption of blockchain in healthcare specifically?
Let's say with the pandemic, we reached a lot of big steps, you know, and health digitalization. So I think we are not yet at what we call a maturity level, not really. Really, we're at the beginning. I'm talking about France because I know that in the USA, they did a proof of concept during the pandemic about the transparency of the pandemic data. I think in like 2 or 3 months, the Ministry of Health did that with blockchain. You know, so I know that our new national e-health system in France is not involving blockchain at all. The same for other application. I'm talking about Stop COVID, you know, the application about COVID in France. No, we have a lot of challenges on identity monitoring of patients, you know, since it's like 2 or 3 months ago that every patient in France has a single identity. Because for now, when you go to one hospital, you have a specific identity, and you go to another one, you have another identity. It's not the same ID you have. So, you know, we are in progress. But I think for France, we are not talking yet about blockchain, but you always know the Estonia example. I think we can do some experience in France on the regions, but we have a lot of work really just to manage identity of the patient because it's a matter of litigation, you know, for the patient. So for now, we work on the basic topics like patient rights because there is a need of legal proof, the sharing of health data, sensitive health data, yeah, and to trace or try to create an automation between the hospital and the startup needed health data to create the algorithm. So this is, I don't know how can I answer more on that.
It will be the concluding word.
Yeah. I mean, I can give a citation of Einstein, you know, we are just giving the information, but the information is not knowledge, early experience is knowledge. So we need more SMEs or more academics, etc. work on blockchain.
Great. Thank you, Nesrine. Thank you, Jean-Christophe and Elodie. We will conclude here. We will give you the contact info from all of our speakers if you want to contact them. Thank you, Daniela, also for organizing this webinar.
Thank you for your participation. And anyway, the presentation will be sent, and also the video is recorded. So if you miss some information,
yeah, it will be available on BHub YouTube channel, for example. Thank you. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.